Good evening, everyone. This is the Prince George County Police Accountability Board. Calling the meeting to order at 6:41 p.m. today, April 9th, 2025. So start off with a roll call. The chair will not be joining us today. Had a loss in his family, so he's traveling for that. So our prayers are with him and his family. And if you get a chance to send a message, please do so. All right, I am here. Mr. James.
Present virtually.
Ms. Bryant. Ms. Springs.
Present, present virtually.
Thank you. Dr. Coleman.
Present virtually.
You, Mr. Jones.
Present.
Mr. Melton.
Present.
Mr. O'Neill.
Present.
Ms. Maxwell.
Present.
Ms. Ridley. And we are, once again, blessed with the new presence of our attorney. Ms. Kim.
Can I just make one comment about the meeting agenda?
Absolutely.
Thank you. Going forward, if we can, on the title, where there is, the title should be the only thing there. Where we see things like none, they should be removed. We can add those things that we know, but we're not sure that won't have the business for an outreach discussion. So those should be removed.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, so before we get moving to everything else, I did want to discuss in the agenda. We will have a discussion. I did get a chance to speak to Ms. Kim. We're gonna have a discussion around administrative hearing board, some of the needs that we have. We have had some resignations. So we'll have that discussion. We can talk about members that have resigned because that's all public record. So we'll have that discussion here. And the hope is that we can start that process to fill those vacancies so that we can have have a high number of people to that board because they are having a lot of cases and they have made it very clear that they need more people. So we'll, no, that'll be an open session. Yeah, so we'll have that under new business. That'll be AHB appointments. Is there anything else that anyone sees that we should discuss? Yes. If it works.
Hopefully it was pretty.
There you go.
All right, so under old business, I see we have policy and procedures, but there were some updates or things that we're gonna follow up on that are things that are reflected in the minutes from last.
Yeah, and
time.
and I don't know that they've been updated in documents, so or have they?
So let me just say what they are. 'Cause I don't.
Yeah.
Okay. So one of the things was we were gonna talk about the 2024 recommendations, right? And then the other thing was the case.
You're talking about new agenda items. Is that what you're referring to? Rick?
Well, is that new or old? Because it was last week.
I mean,
2 weeks ago.
yeah. I just mean things that aren't, sorry, to clarify, I just mean things that aren't currently on the agenda that you would like to add.
Yeah.
Okay.
And if I can ask.
Sure.
As a procedure point.
Sure.
When we're going to be discussing things that we did 2 weeks before, it probably should be on the agenda.
Yes. Yeah.
Because if you don't have the attachment, you don't know what the business is.
I think we're gonna have to, we'll do a better job of making sure that action items from previous minutes
Right.
are reflected in the current agenda. Yeah, and I think that goes with what Ms. Kim said as well, that it probably shouldn't say none, because we can always add things as well as a body to the agenda. But I just wanted to make sure we could open that up to discuss, but you're absolutely correct that we have discussed, can you go over those two things again?
So, well, I didn't say this one, it was the performance-related clarification on the process for when there are internal issues that aren't public facing.
Yeah.
That was one we were supposed to follow up on. And the other one was the, getting a history on what happened with the 2024.
Yeah, yeah, and we will discuss that. Yeah. So, yeah, and I'll put that discussion regarding 2024 recommendations.
And I, Mr. Chair,
Yes.
and I will say, this agenda sometimes goes out earlier so that it meets out on the website. So if you see it on the website and see something that needs to or should be added, it would be helpful just to let staff know.
Sure.
So that the final one that we get is reflective of everything. But yeah, you're absolutely right. Well, we'll do a better job of catching the action items from our minutes to make sure that they're automatically included in the next agenda. Okay. All right. So the first thing we have is the minutes, but I'm gonna ask that we table because there are some questions regarding the minutes matching. I guess we got to do a review of the video footage on a couple of points. So we're gonna hold it and have a final revised version of our next meeting to clarify a couple things. So we'll move forward to subcommittee updates. I know we've got one that I think everyone has here from the legislation recommendation subcommittee. So Mr. James, yes.
Just a quick question. In terms of tabling the minutes, do we have to take a vote on that? Like, is that a formal process or can we just bump it?
No, I think if I table it, we're all in agreement. Yeah, we'll just table it. All right. So Mr. James, legislation recommendation subcommittee update.
Good evening. I think the update report from the Legislation and Recommendation Subcommittee has been provided to you all. You can definitely review it. Just a couple of the highlights from that. We do have the long calendar 2025, so we'll look at some of those dates so that we can put them on the board's calendar so that we can execute any of our recommendations that need to come forward, making sure we meet those deadlines and timelines. Circling back on a point that was raised earlier, and I think we will come back to it, is the 2024 recommendations. We did discuss that status and we're advised that we would get an update last Friday, but had not heard anything on that. So we will plan to hear about that one. And then several other actions. We did not have something specific during this particular meeting to update, but we are tracking them so that we do provide an update for, excuse me, the first meeting planned for May. So those things are on track, and we will have our follow-up subcommittee meeting next week, and then we will have a more thorough update to provide to the full board at the first meeting in May. But we are tracking those items, and if there are questions, I'm willing to entertain them, Mr. Chair.
Any questions? Updates? That we'll cover it, yeah. Yeah. I put it under old business, so once we're done with this, we'll revise that. All right, not seeing any questions. Thank you, Mr. James, and to your team on this. do we have any updates from the cases and complaints review subcommittee?
Yes, so, we continued our conversations about, many of our consolidated feedback that we wanted to provide to the ACC in regards to reviewing their 2024 report, which we shared with the board, last meeting. What we were able to do was, again, consolidate that feedback and reach out to see if we could get some questions answered, since we wanted to develop a little bit better understanding from some of the things we were seeing before we would make a recommendation. We needed more clarity. And so what we heard back is that they could provide some of the cases that we had in question, which were sent to us, but I don't know that all board members were able to access the zip file. So we do want to try to get clarity on who was able to access it, and who wasn't. If we can get access for all board members, we want to try to work that out. But that will allow us to have some visibility into some of the questions that we have regarding those specific cases. Also, our member Isabella from the ACC, was nice enough to say, you know, that she would love to be able to set up a meeting, because I think it might be a little easier to talk through some of the questions as well. And so I wanted to share with the rest of the committee. I hadn't seen it in my Fiji County email, but I did notice it today. And so that is something that we can see if the rest of the subcommittee can attend and pick a date to join Isabella and get some clarity on some of those questions answered, which would then help formalize some of our recommendations, which we can then present to the board to agree if those recommendations are things that we all agree about.
This bill is municipal charge.
No, I think it's just amendments. They are still waiting on an aide, admin aide, and so that person hasn't been, I don't think, brought on board yet. So until that happens, we won't have a process in place where we can get cases regularly. But we still have a plan to look into a sample case, apply it to our case review document, make any tweaks. I do think there are some tweaks we want to make to that. So we also want to make some recommendations to that form and present that to the board as well. So I'm thinking probably by the next meeting, we may have more formalized recommendations that we can provide in a document so the board can review and we can make a collective decision about anything we want to recommend. Yeah.
During our earlier iterations, we put kind of time frames to things. Is there any time frame for this in terms of making the report back after the meetings?
No, I guess it's kind of contingent on availability. I think in any case where we can't set a deadline or a firm timeline, I think we will try to do that. But as of right now, just seeing about the board's availability, and then also, once we get those answers, how long it will take us to formalize our recommendation. It shouldn't take long after.
And the only reason I'm thinking we're in fiscal year, so perhaps making sure it happens within this fiscal
Which is June.
June 30.
Yeah.
June 30. I don't know if that's possible, but
Yeah, for this motion, or this action, I definitely think we'll be down.
Any questions for Mr. Melton and the cases and complaints review subcommittee? All right. I won't make you go all at the same time. Data and analytics.
No update. I'm the lone one, so still trying to put together. I have not finished it, and promised that I would, but I'm gonna make a commitment to finish. I'm gathering all the data points that we need, so I will hopefully have that for the next meeting. So putting together a list of all of the data collection points from the survey that we have and everything that we need for the annual report. So I want to put that together all in one place and then present it to the board.
Questions? Dr. Coleman? Okay. See, community outreach, I know, Ms. Bryant isn't here, but I don't know, Mr. O'Neill or, Mr. Jones, if you guys have any updates?
I can just say, yeah, I can just say, we were scheduled to meet last week and there ran into some technical difficulties, which inhibited our ability to meet. So, we're currently rescheduling. So nothing to report out on the committee itself. I will say I did some outreach to, University of Maryland and to, Bowie State, reaching out to their kind of student organizations. Just an introduction of this is the board, this is who we are. We'd love to find some time to introduce ourselves to the student body, let you guys know, what we do and the role that we have in the community. Haven't heard back, but those lines are in the water, and so just going to keep trying to think of groups, coalitions,
Maybe community college would be good too.
Yeah, I literally thought that sitting here, so yeah, I completely agree. So yeah, that's rolling. So as we get to meet,
Great.
we'll formalize that.
The only other thing, like you said, we had a technical difficulty, but it was why I talked to them. We were talking about.
Can you make sure you can go into the mic?
There you go.
We tried to do some community outreach in those communities with next session of chiefs. We meet next for the chief, look at the list that was sent out to us by Tans. See if we can set up some kind of outreach for those communities so when the chiefs come.
Great. Sounds good. And then I know Mr. Johnson saw an email. I don't know if that went to everyone. The executives, Latino.
Oh, yeah. So the Latino Commission for the county have their meeting at the same time as our next meeting. And so but they've given us the opportunity to present to their board to introduce ourselves and who the PAB is. So I plan on attending. Hopefully they can put us near the top of the calendar that we talked about it. But we'll be at the top of their agenda. I plan to go over there, do that piece and then come back and join the board for the rest of
I'll go with you because I missed that last one.
Yeah.
The work thing. So I definitely want to go to that as well.
Cool.
So hopefully the chair will be back.
Yeah, facts.
Yeah. So we can have a strong conviction. Very great. And then appointments and nominations, we won't get a report back because that will deal with the bullet point we have under new business here. So we'll get to that shortly. Did I miss any? I think that's everything. Yes. All right. Now we get to policy and procedure document. So we did get an updated document that was sent out, or the latest document that was sent out by Ms. Rolls, I believe. On the first.
Mr. Chair, I can provide an update if you'd like, if this is the time. So the committee, of course, was myself, Mrs. Springs, with the advice of Attorney Camp, and I didn't get, I think there were additional comments that Mrs. Maxwell sent, but I didn't receive them. So I didn't want to move forward without having everyone's, comments. We did get feedback from Mr. James and Mr. Jones. So soon as we get that feedback, I want to reconvene, and then we can go in. What the plan is to go in, and everything that we agreed on, I think in the meeting from November, we'll go ahead and just sort of say, yes, accept those comments. And then whatever the outstanding comments are, we can then bring them back to the board to discuss, and then try to maybe get those hammered out in real time like we did it in the November meeting.
So I just need to make sure I have the correct email address.
They should go to,
I CC'd Ebony and sent them, so.
I didn't get the copy of the receipt yet, let me know that you sent it.
Right, correct.
So I let her know to look out for them.
And she did, so I need to verify the email address. Yeah.
I'll
Okay.
pay her personal.
Okay. All right, okay.
personal email.
Dr. Coleman.
I don't know, I have the county.
They still need to go to her and then come back out to
Okay,
that stuff.
so don't send it directly,
Right.
because
just
I
put-
asked who to send them to.
Yeah.
Send them to staff.
To staff first,
To have her send it out to the
Okay.
whole
so
subcommittee.
not directly to,
Just to make sure we got record of.
no, it's fine, that was my question.
Yeah.
So,
Oh, that's great. Yeah, okay, that sounds good. So then we will, so the subcommittee will meet, make the updates, and then we'll get the updated document that'll have comments from everyone that provided comments after they received the last version, on April 1st, right?
Yes.
Okay. Yes,
So just.
Vice Chair, please.
So when that's sent, it should be sent, staff should then send it to the entire subcommittee. And that would be, Ms. Springs, Ms. Coleman, and me. That should go, so be clear on what that is. Also, after the last conversation, with respect to the role of Robert's rules and the rules of procedure, I am in conversations with the Office of Law. I think there were some items that needed to be clarified, and so, part of what that subcommittee will be doing is to give some clarity to this board based on those discussions with the Office of Law, so that we.
It's not, just the other one. Yeah.
clarity in terms of process.
And the role of Robert's rules with respect to the rules of procedure. There were, I think IG Bennett made some comments and they needed some clarity from the Office of Law. So we'll go
On the
into
draft. Okay.
So you're not, guys, ask, in terms of like using Robert's rules as part of our procedure?
the way it gets integrated. There were,
Oh, okay,
yes,
gotcha.
and the way they're used.
Yeah, gotcha, thank you.
That's a sharp person over there, know exactly what I was.
Yeah,
talking about.
yeah,
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
All right. So we will have that as an action item for our next meeting agenda. Will be a discussion on the most recent version of policy procedures. All right, the second bullet was the discussion regarding the 2024 recommendations. Just excuse not even let it die.
Using your, what's that, singing voice?
Yeah. I'll use my radio voice. So we had a discussion that happened in the last meeting, and I think for the sake of clarity, there was a lot of uncertainty as to exactly what had happened, why this had gone out. I think we can have a discussion about what it appears to have been. But I wanted to make a clarifying statement, because I think we received an email chain. I think everyone received that, right? That kind of talked about where at some point we were given the transmittal letter that was unsigned, the recommendations, and the minutes from our meeting in March of 2024 that had specified when we had approved all those recommendations. So I think in the previous meeting, and I saw that in Mr. James' update from the subcommittee, I think there were questions about what legal questions there were. viewing that email, it's clear that there were no legal questions. So it wasn't our attorney that was holding up the transmittal of that letter. And if Ms. Maxwell, fortunately, this is before your time, but I think the members may remember that we had a meeting with chiefs of police in which they discussed a letter that had gone out to them, to certain chiefs who had no cases reported in 2023, I think it was. And it came to our attention that a letter had gone out without the chair's wet signature, where he hadn't reviewed the letter. So there was his name was signed to the letter, sent out to chiefs, and some chiefs had negative reactions about it. And so I think from that point on, we had kind of specified that the chair was going to add a wet signature to all recommendations. And it appears, because of that email, the letter doesn't have that wet signature even after the approval. So it would appear that there was a gap that happened there in which there was no follow-up to make sure that wet signature was applied to that letter to have it transmitted out.
You see, the only thing about you put that out, you're talking about the first time. He thought it was us, so that it was administrative charge being sent about that under his signature. It wasn't us.
Yeah.
It wasn't.
Yeah, so since then he had asked that nothing go out without his wet signature. And so it would appear that the holdup there weren't no legal questions on the recommendations. We had approved them. It just, that wet signature never got put on it. And that's basically it. So I think we definitely dropped the ball on making sure that he got that letter, got the wet signature, and it was transmitted. So unless there's other documentation there, I didn't see anything that was provided to us that shows that there were any legal questions that was holding up, that there was any that anyone from the board had made any statements asking for that to be held up. It just kind of what you spoke to, it shows up in the minutes and it doesn't always get transplanted to our agenda. And so therefore it just seems to have disappeared into a void. And I think we all just made the assumption that after we had voted out, it was going to go because that's what we voted for. But as I could tell from the email, there's no wet signature on it. So that's what it is. So I wanted to clarify that there were, from all the evidence, there's no legal questions, no legal holdups. I think we had already vetted that. We had a document that was given to us. We chose certain recommendations. We rejected some recommendations. So that letter should have been sent out. So I think the work that we have moving forward, correct, is to take those recommendations plus recommendations that we had in our annual report from last year, to see if we could have those put into a letter that we could get signed and transmitted.
Actually, that is not the way things happen. On Monday, May 13th, I sent a letter out to the chair, yourself, and the council, saying that this was a transmittal letter.
Yeah.
And I had a signature on it.
Okay.
Council asked me to remove the chair's signature pending questions that she had on the recommendation.
Okay.
And I do have documentation for that.
Okay.
And I was never on maybe portal things, and I have the email
Yeah.
to back it up.
Yeah.
I asked, what is the clarification that you need in order for this letter to go out?
Okay.
When she asked me to make sure that I removed the chair's signature, I removed it. She said, remove it. And she said, make sure you put draft on here, that they would finalize it and then give to me the final letter to go out, which never happened.
I'm gonna, whatever.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
I
let's
will be, because I don't want us to go back and forth, but I will be making a formal response to that. I don't think it accurately reflects the discussion. The only thing that may be accurate in that, and I don't think here's the place to do it, and I will do it in writing, is the fact that the chair had said he wanted to see it before it got signed. And that was the reason that the signature was asked to be removed without him being able to have fully vetted it. All of those recommendations, we talked about the legality of it. And when we had the discussion about the legality of it, we then went on to vote. This board voted to move them forward. What was missing was a letter. If there was additional documents that was not provided to me or to the board, it is not an accurate statement that's being made by the staff member. And I will respond to it in writing. We have also requested a meeting with IG Bennett with respect to this issue. I just don't think today is the day to have a back and forth.
Or in this form, correct, yeah.
Mr. James?
Thank you. I appreciate it. I think, we can follow up on it. And I think it also goes back to the point that we discussed earlier, that there are often action items that come out of our meetings and they are not tracked and they're not followed up. We at one point had a tracker. We followed up on action items to ensure that that happened, that was stopped. And I think this is just the offspring of that, is the fact that we did not put in the mechanisms to make sure it happened. So the fact that a wet signature wasn't added, I'm not sure how, based on the communications, that really plays out in the whole thing, but we clearly need a process, a procedure in place to make sure that when the board does vote to take action, that the board's actions are completed.
Mr. James, I'm glad you said that, and I totally agree. And what I will say, I think it needs to be a written procedure, because I think part of this, and thank you for your comments, part of this is that if something went from May to March without a way to ping or track, that even if it did get delayed, that there should have been some place in that line of continuing that it was realized that it didn't go out. So I think that is a key, regardless of what was caused by it, that there's a way to catch it if it doesn't occur. And the chair and the vice chair and I have been talking about that, and I think they are going to make some recommendations to the board with respect to that.
Yeah, because I just wanted to say, when we engaged in this discussion for the 2 meetings I've been here, in my head, I'm going, why don't we have a tickle system? Why don't we say when something goes out, we get a status update in sports, or it goes out by date certain, and then in the next meeting, there's a report out on it. I mean, it's not hard. We're all busy and things can slip, but that's a long time.
We did have an action item list, and we've had different iterations of it. I think Mr. Melton did the latest, and I don't know that becomes that we go over in each meeting, and maybe that needs to start back again. Yeah, because there is a system that's been in place for the last, at least last 2 years.
Well, see, let me say something. See, my thing was illegal, because I remember the meeting, and the letters were supposed to go out, and it was this question about it had to go to some other people in the county. I kept on asking, who is this other people other than IG Bennett and his boss? They kept on saying other people, and I kept on saying, who's the other people? It wasn't a legal thing. Then the whole thing died. No letters went out. It wasn't legal. Because my thing is that IG was this thing very standard. Those are the people over us. Because it was a letter in response to the legislative a delegate, and it was these other letters sent out to the county. And that was the question I kept on asking. Who's the other people? That had nothing to do with legal. It needed to go out. That's what I'm talking about. It had nothing to do with legal. Barry Stanton is over public safety. He's the only one that has to approve it. And it was I kept on asking that question. Who's the other person? Nobody could tell me who the other person was.
No, I think Mr. James has condensed it down. I think ultimately we have to hold ourselves as a board accountable for not following up on our own agenda items, right? And if we don't have a mechanism in place, it's important that we put those mechanisms in place for ourselves. Yeah.
just wanted to say for the record, there were reminders in the house several times. And not just written, but verbal.
Yeah, and no, and I think without the mechanisms in place that we need to have where we can have that here, I think we've identified a flaw in our system that we need to fix.
Just. I think we're talking about updates here. So when you say that we're reminders that went out, you're talking internal, right? That didn't get here though, right? So, right,
Yeah.
okay, because then the board wasn't aware. Okay, that's what I mean. Yeah. But it's.
Yeah, but I was trying to say that I had verbal, and they were written,
Yeah.
what's
Yeah.
going with, those that were working.
Yeah, 100%. I think I think that's where the gap is identified. I think we're all at the point where we need to have some way to bring those things back to the board and make sure that they come here. So we will have, I think there's more discussions to have more information, but ultimately, we've got to develop that system to make sure that we're tracking our action items. So.
And as I said, I think the one that Mr. Melton worked on, I had one originally transferred to one to Mr. Melton, I think, but it hasn't come back it's now part of our package. It used to be a part of our package, so I think making it a part of it.
Okay, any other questions on that agenda item before we move on to new business? Okay. Thank you. All right, new business. So we have a need to refill our AHB. So we've had some folks that have resigned. Can you give us the names of who's resigned?
I don't know. I think
Okay.
that are, folks not in compliance, and one that's not not a. So, you know, we have already started to get a list of, people who have put in their intent. So we've already started sending emails out to them, and we gave them until this Friday to respond, and we should have a list for them.
Great, that's fantastic. So yeah, so we had 10 total, right, that we had appointed. And then, so we have 2, and those 2 were from our original 3, I think, the 4 that we appointed, correct? That just they never came into compliance.
So the 2 that I'm speaking of that are not compliant with the last session for
Okay.
March last year.
Okay, so we have 2 that never became compliant to be able to participate.
Sit on the board.
Okay, so we had 2 of those. We've had 2 resignations since then, but of
Yeah.
2 other people. And then we've got someone that's out on long-term
Yeah, then I
medical.
think one other only sit like once a month.
Okay, so then there's like a scheduling issue with the 6th person.
So right now, we've had 9 from the previous batch that we sent emails, they didn't respond. So we sent them emails again, and then we had 5 from 2024, 2025.
And those are applicants.
Yes.
Okay,
This is when I want to launch back, so we're having a holiday. I don't know if that's what it is, if we all get like, we're gonna go back. Okay, if there's something, interview or have a conversation with them.
yeah, so.
Not that-
and then-
Question. How do we advertise?
Yeah,
And then we got one.
no, we have several.
Oh, okay.
What we do is, because we were full, so people have put in their intent like maybe a year ago,
Okay.
years
All right.
ago,
Okay.
and because nobody, reached out to them, so we just reach back out to see if there's still interest. And then some people, they just don't respond, or they respond back and say, no, because there's no, yeah, so.
Yeah,
And it's these ones that have to go through the training before they actually see
Yeah.
it and stuff. Okay.
Yeah.
And they know that when they apply, what thing.
If they have to go through a week-long training, I'm not sure if they know when they apply.
But when you get the name, you gonna call, you call them back or whatever, send them back about
Set it
that.
up,
Yeah, and just to give you context, because sometimes I forget. So we had an issue where we said, you know what, because we know this may be something we need to refill, we've had something online that's just kind of roll through, so people send in. Yeah, exactly. So we do have a appointments and nominations subcommittee. So the idea is to then shift that to them, right? So that the subcommittee will get the list of people who have responded from this roles. They will vet those, go over, review, and then make recommendations on who should be interviewed. Present a plan to the board at the next meeting, hopefully by Friday, we have responses. But this might be a good time as well for everyone here to just make a push out with that to your lists, right? Email lists, send something out, just letting people know in the county that if they're interested in this, there's an opportunity right now. Because there's nothing that says we have to do interviews just once. We can continue to refill that as needed. So, yeah, so I don't know, Mr. Melton, if that, I guess with the information you have there, that seems like something that's doable.
Yeah, I mean, and even if we get one person, I mean, we just,
Yeah.
should try to do our due diligence to get them on board. I think Mr. Dre said.
Yes, thank you. Mr. James?
Just as a request of an action item from the staff, if they could send us the flyer or something that we can send out, an email or post in order to share it, that would be appreciated. I just want to make sure I have the updated information and if there are any deadlines that somebody needs a response by. So if there's some graphic that they can share with us, I'd appreciate it.
but it is on the AA website, you can see on the PAB website, but it's removed and it's on the AA website. And it has all the information and it's much more live.
So there's a link. For
Got it.
Okay.
Yeah, and then it comes to us.
Would it? I think it would still, to Mr. James' point, just because I think we'll keep running into this, it would be good, even if the flyer itself isn't dated, to have something that we could always have when we want to make these pushes. Especially like when we have community outreach opportunities, something that we can hand out to people. So maybe we could get something designed, even if it doesn't work in time for this one. I think it'd be good to have something that we could hand out.
No, I'll add there, I think I'm on the AP subcommittee, I can't remember if not, I'd like to be, but I think it's also worth thinking about, like, I think the first
You
time
are.
around, okay, thank you. The first time we had this conversation around, like, I think I had some questions on, like, how are we getting the information, the opportunity, like, out into the community, right? I think that's a hurdle that we really need to figure out, because I think we should have a deeper pool, and that's not saying anyone hasn't done what they're supposed to do, right? But we should have a deeper pool of applicants. We should have a wider range of folks, because I think, as we think about it, if we have 5 applicants, like, what do we get 5 non-qualified applicants? I'm not for just passing people through to fill positions. So
Absolutely.
I think we need to cast as wide a net, or just start thinking about how do we cast as wide a net as possible? Like, what are formal channels? What are the informal channels that we can do there? Because it's just been kind of consistently low number of applicants. I think that, I think there's room for that to be a lot more.
How many are we trying to get?
As many as we can.
As many as we can.
Yeah, I don't think there's a
Fill up the
number.
bench.
Yeah, I mean, right now, we gotta at least get to 10, that'd be nice to get us back to 10, just so we have a lot.
So to follow up with what you just said, so how do we do it now? Is it just, where is it? Where do we post?
So
Where do we post?
it's on the AFP website, it's just like a flyer that says that we're accepting applications for that.
Probably.
You don't have to end date or anything like that.
I wonder if
We
there's
didn't.
is there a social media person in the county who might be able to put a post?
Yeah, because there's a commission, there's someone that does commission, like, does the commissions for the county
Yeah,
that sends stuff out to their lists.
need a wider net.
So,
The appointments.
yeah,
Right.
yeah. So it'd be good to
That's
have
right,
that.
the appointment.
Can you copy it off that website?
Well, give us whoever you can now, so that the subcommittee can start working, and then you can add another date after that. I mean, it could be rolling, right?
It's the county website
Well, yeah, I was gonna say,
where our notices.
the county website, and the county exec's office, they have an appointments liaison.
Yeah. Yeah. But no, that's great. I think we can definitely, I think it's Mr. Melton, Mr. Jones, Ms. Maxwell, Springs, and myself that are on
No,
appointments.
I'm not on
I'm taking your name off.
I'm on the legislative one and the claim, the cases.
Yes. You know what? I did put you on the wrong one. I
Okay.
apologize for
All
that. Yeah, so definitely something we can discuss when we meet, figure that out long term. So yeah, so then by Friday, we'll know who has responded from what we already have. And then we'll make a push to get that out. And then maybe we can do, what do you think, another 2-week sort of window if we can get emails out? You know, so that we can push that to. So this Friday is the 11th? Right?
Is there qualification, what's the criteria? What's the other?
Yeah, there's,
Just can't be a police.
Yeah,
it's like a number of things like that.
yeah, you can't be a former law enforcement officer that was on a do not.
So there's not a criteria, you're telling me?
No, there's nothing to qualify.
It's,
No.
it's a
Yeah.
citizen, yeah, it's open to any citizen, really.
Okay.
Yeah.
We determine.
But we do have a rubric of qualities and characteristics that we can, in our rubric for evaluating people.
Okay.
Yeah.
I have a question.
Yes,
You have-
they have to be a county president, yeah.
And the question, when you say 2-week window, do you mean like once the subcommittee has like seen the
No,
vote?
so, because by the 11th, the people that have already applied have to respond back that they're still interested. So I would say then we do another 2-week period to the 25th. Well, yeah, it'll be after our next meeting. So we can push it back like 3 weeks, maybe the Friday before we meet next time. That way, if there are more people, then we can get that list and be fresh.
If I go home and copy that from the AHC website, and send it out to my email.
Yes.
So they gotta respond by Friday.
No, different. So Ebony's saying they have like people who have historically expressed interest that like when it first went out, they said, I want to do it. And we didn't contact them because we did it with other people. So those people who we didn't contact the first time around, she reached back out to them to say, hey, if you're interested, you can still come back. And they gave them a window to respond to this Friday. Anyone we reach out to now, this is also, it's a rolling process.
Right, it's not kind of closed.
Yeah.
So I would, so the Friday before our next meeting will be May 2nd. I mean, not before our next meeting, but before our first meeting of May.
Yep.
So would that be? If we start anything that goes out now, should we be asking people to apply by the 2nd? I guess is what I'm asking.
Oh, like to give.
So that way, at that meeting on the 8th, you can get names and the subcommittee can then do it that way. Like, I mean, I guess what I'm asking is what process do you want? Do you want a deadline for what, if we're sending out communications now, so we do it to our list, we ask the county to send it out. Are we giving a deadline or are we just saying, just apply if you're interested?
Yeah, I think we can just word it that way, that we're looking to, evaluate new candidates as soon as possible.
Okay.
We're looking to set a time for the 8th.
Okay.
But I would say try not to make it sound like it's a cutoff or like it closes. So
Yeah,
just word it in a way that's like, it has
Urgent.
urgency,
Yeah.
but not that it's gonna be over, that their opportunity will be over.
If I may, I think the way we can do this to maximize it is we focus on like internally, we focus on the batch that we're gonna get on Friday. But after that, I think the bulk of the work is by the subcommittee to just like do it on an ongoing basis. So I think in terms of like, our urgency and like right now, any parameters, we actually just be around our consideration for those folks that will hear back from officially by Friday. And then after that, just let the subcommittee, bring folks to the larger committee as we have to.
Yeah.
I think that makes it easier.
Yeah, but we definitely should all be making a push to try to do whatever.
Oh, yeah.
So,
That's it.
so that way we can see hopefully a small spike in people that,
Yeah.
that reaches and that apply.
Just a comment,
Just use your outside voice. Don't worry
Yeah,
about it.
just at that, the library, the form of the library.
Yeah.
There was a young lady that was part of that library system that wanted to get on.
Yes, she did. One of the things.
If you remember, if you can reach out to her.
Okay.
She mentioned that at that virtual town hall.
Back off a little bit when I talked about the week-long training. Because that,
Okay.
You
we
can,
had a couple of people that were interested, but because of that, they weren't able to take off for that week for training. So I do remember that she kind of.
She said she
a little
wanted
bit
to.
of that. Yeah.
And that's the trade that's not in the county, it might be in the regional or something. Is that the same?
Yeah.
It's like the different places around the county.
No, it's just insane. So at the Maryland Police Training Commission. Yeah. Do we know when they're having another? So I guess the other question will be, do we know if they have sessions set up already? Or if they would be willing to set up sessions if we have?
I think we have a calendar.
Okay.
So because we didn't see anybody, I don't have that, but I can get it.
Yeah, let's look into that.
Next time they have.
Yeah, let's look into it. So if we know that there's a date that they have that training, then I think that'll help us also kind of. Yeah, target our process to make sure that we have people, because,
I mentioned that there is compensation because that might be meaningful.
yeah, it's true. And then the other thing that you brought up when we were talking about this was that there was a vetting process as well, right?
Right.
So they still have to go through that before they're officially appointed. So that's gonna add time. So we need to take all that into account for when these trainings are occurring to make sure that we have enough time to put people on.
Well, didn't we ask them when we interviewed them, one, some of the questions where you would have time to do the session?
Yeah. But I think that's something that we could clarify in communication to them before. So we're not wasting a question on the interview. Like, can you attend this?
Point of clarification, the vetting happens by us or does?
No, it's like the county,
They
yeah,
like,
it's
there's
like
like an
the
official process. for it.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, so then just to drill that down, we will have a list of people that are still interested who have submitted applications by, I guess, Monday, yeah. And then that'll go to the subcommittee, which is Mr. Melton, Mr. Jones, Ms. Springs, and myself. And then we can start up our process. All righty, so that's that under new business. All right, any announcements? I think the chair would be very proud of the fact that when he's here, he always says, oh, we'll end by 7:30, 8 o'clock, and he never does. When he's not here is the times when we end our show.
I'm sorry for interrupting. I am here. I'm off camera, but I'm here. This is Sheila Bryant. I am in Texas and my environment is not really pretty for us to watch right now. But at any rate, I don't know if we talked about having our subcommittee, Mr. O'Neill, did you mention, I missed the first part of the meeting. Did you mention our discussions about having something at the MML, having either a workshop or some other meeting of all the PABs in the state?
I didn't mention that.
You did. Okay, well, I would like for the board to be considering that. And we'll get into more detail and I'll talk with staff about how we would put that together, just so I can have a plan presented for the next meeting.
So that would,
Sorry?
MML this year, so you mean MML 26, 26?
I think the MML is in August, or is it Mako?
It's June.
MML is
August.
June.
What is on?
Mako's in August.
Maryland.
MML is in August then.
Oh, yeah, MML.
No, MML.
Mako is the one that's on.
Mako's in August.
Yeah.
And I believe that the deadline for Mako, for you to make presentation, has actually passed. They usually put it out, yeah. they
No, for
put it out like
MML, yes,
this, Yeah,
probably not for Mako.
Mako has to.
Oh, that- oh.
Yeah, because they're.
Well, we could explore it though and see if there's any way they could squeeze us in or something.
We could definitely plan something to, yeah, I'd love to see a plan from the subcommittee so we can discuss that further.
Okay. I apologize for not having more. We tried to meet and for some reason there was technical
It could
difficulties.
be
but
something that we could focus outside of the official meeting agenda
And several
schedule.
people do.
I'm sorry, I missed that.
No, never mind. It could be a special, it could be something that could be hosted by us outside of the official schedule and agenda
I agree.
to do that.
Yeah,
But I think we would have to act with urgency because people plan things out pretty far in advance for these conferences.
understood. Okay,
Um,
but I just wanted to put that on the plate and so that staff can help me contact the people who I need to discuss it with and we can develop a plan.
I think if it's formal, that's probably a next year conference.
Yeah.
But if we're talking something more informal, I think then we can discuss capacity among board members and see if we can make
Yeah.
that work.
And then we would also want to discuss budgeting because then we'd have to find a space for it that we probably have to stay for.
This is what I was thinking about. Would be next year, whatever. There should be some communications between all this PAPs around the state. You know, they just, you all want to, so we, then if we want to do something like this, we would have a panel. Or somebody from Baltimore County, somebody from Prince George's County, somebody from Anne explain what PAB is, what's the updates and stuff, like, that's what they do. You know, they have like, talk about police brutality, you know, police recruiting. They have somebody from Frederick, somebody from Montgomery County, somebody in his business, system leaders of the thing. That's what we do. You know, to have like association of PABs up with better words. It ain't gotta be a formal thing. So when we talk about cost, I think that's that's what, not just Prince George's County.
That makes more sense. All right, well, we look forward to having a discussion around your vision for that. Well, thank you, Ms. Bryan, for joining us from Texas.
Yeah.
You have a
Yes,
safe trip back.
thank you. I will.
Okay, any other announcements? And don't worry, I checked off your name on the official roll, so you are here.
Okay. Thanks.
All right, any other announcements from anyone else for the good of the order? Yes. Ooh, what's that deadline for that? April 30th, you will get fined $2 a day or about?
It will, and it adds up, I promise you it does.
Yeah. They will send you an email with the total, so.
Oh, my goodness.
So make sure that you do that before the next meeting. Everyone should do it, right? Just to make sure you get it done. All right, thank you for that. Anyone else? If not, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Move to adjourn.
Second,
Second.
No,
You beat her.
no.
Oh,
Yeah, Ms.
man.
Bray's got that second.
I'm here, I'm paying attention, I'm here.
You definitely heard that.
I know that, don't worry. All right, all in favor of adjourning, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, thank you, everyone. Have a wonderful rest of your week. See you next time.
The next meeting will be a quarterly chiefs meeting, correct?
Is it?
The quarterly chiefs
Quarterly
meeting?
chiefs meeting?
Yeah, it is. I wrote it in here. It is coming.
It's coming, it's not the next, no.
That's May. That's May day before.
The
It's
last
the 28th of
Two.
May.
Thank
28th of May.
So
It's the-
when are, what, is it like,
Quarterly, so we had a
is it like the third Wednesday? Right, okay.
No, we have different days picked up.
But
It
they're,
is
but
not,
they're,
the next one is not the
Doing the
chiefs meeting.
calendar.
Ms.
Yeah,
Bryant.
yeah.
So it's not the next meeting.
No.
Okay.
It's a regular meeting. Yeah, it's a regular meeting.
Okay, all right, thank you.
All right, thank you.
Bye-bye.